Hello, welcome to Drumfills Cafe. My name is Dennis, and welcome to the 6th World Edition episode of Season 2. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. Tonight, two interviews to drummers, but before we begin, as I usually ask of you, please go check out the pages for Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram of Drumfills Cafe. Please like, subscribe, and of course, share those pages with your friends. Thank you for everyone who has done it so far. Second thing I'd like to talk about, we had a contest going on to wear a sonar snare drum. That contest ended today, but the draw will be done on the 8th of December. So please come back to the Facebook page of Drumfills Cafe to know all the details. I wish everyone who participated good luck. Let's begin the interviews. So my first guest of the evening, drummer who started in his childhood, and by 17 years old, he was playing for the International Jazz Festival in Montreal, and also doing the Montreal Drumfills back in '99. So very impressive. Then went on to study at Berklee College of Music and started to play with a ton of people from Mahogany Rush, Jack Bruce, James Heha, Jonas, and the Arkells. But he's mostly known, of course, to be part of the Sam Roberts Band since 2005. So lots to talk about. I'm personally excited. Let's welcome to Drumfills Cafe, Mr. Josh Trager. Hello, Josh.
Hey, Denis.
Nice to meet you. It looks nice and sunny. Where are you?
I'm on my balcony in Toronto, downtown Toronto. So
that's nice.
Hopefully there won't be too many police sirens and fire trucks and stuff.
That we pass by as we do the interview. That's cool.
Yeah, I'll consider ourselves lucky if that doesn't happen in the next 25 minutes.
That's cool. So let's start from the beginning. So you're of course Montreal born. You're from Montreal. And how does drums begin for you? How do you get attracted to drum? Is it a family thing? Is it a musical family thing, or?
I did play music growing up. It was just sort of a part of the parents wanted to instill those the artistic values in myself along with my siblings. So I did play piano, took lessons, and I started with violin when I was 3 as well, Suzuki method. But and then also growing up with various movies coming out such as La Bamba, I got really attracted to electric guitar and stuff when I was a kid, 6 years old. But for drums, that happened a little later when I was about 10 or 11, and it just happened to be I was watching television and a Guns N' Roses video came on, and just those big thunderous tom fills in some of those songs. I was like the song "Don't Cry" or "November Rain," and whatever was being played in 91, early 92, and that was it for me. It wasn't even so much like at first groove or whatever. I think it was literally a drum fill, which is appropriate for the name of your show, actually.
Exactly. Well, and of course the drummer in that was Matt Sorum, which he played economically, but my God, did he play with thunder kind of thing? Yeah, for sure.
Oh my God, yeah. He had a huge sound, and I was immediately attracted to it and became obsessed with drums from then on, and also with Guns N' Roses from then on. Nice. And so I was dead set on playing drums and being a drummer, and for the next year or so, it's all I talked about until I finally got my first drum kit. It was a Westbury from Steve's Music in Montreal.
Guilty as well.
Oh, the Westbury thing?
I still have it. Black Westbury downstairs. Yeah, I kept it.
Oh my God.
I still have it. Oh,
you're lucky, man. I sold mine to a buddy of mine.
It's beat up to crap, but I actually played it a couple of times just to take it out, and it still has that rock sound, that sort of what's the wood on those things again? Mahogany? I think it's
there might be some mahogany in there. It's it's actually not a bad wood configuration.
Yeah.
I used to have pinstripes on mine, also because that's what Mansour had on his. But exactly. They sounded amazing.
Yeah, right? for sure. You tuned them well. You could tune them well, and they sounded good for. Yeah.
Absolutely. For a beginner, certainly. And I mean, like, I would record with them if I still had them. I mean, they have a very special sound, and this nostalgic sound
For sure.
yourself, for us, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. So, well, that's interesting, that you begin from there. And then how do you move on to be 17-year-old to be playing like on a jazz fest and drum fest and all
Doing big band stuff? Yeah. I think, along with my first drum kit, my family picked up a couple of modern drummer magazines, and
right.
I kind of helped me to delve into the drumming world and the never-ending deep music, a world of music. And at that age I was 11, so I was mostly looking at pictures and whatever. My mother actually took an interest in it as a way of sort of connecting with me and what I was diving into all of a sudden. So she started reading some stories, like Jeff Porcaro had just passed away, so at that time, so there was the tribute issue that just came out. So she started talking to me about different drummers and different styles of music, and I've slowly but surely, obviously, like when you're that age and you're like a kid hell-bent on like Guns N' Roses or Metallica, it's like there's nothing else. Nothing else matters.
Of course.
To quote the song. I didn't mean to do that. But you know what I mean? Like, so it took, and I started taking lessons as well right off the bat.
Right.
So I took a little bit of time, but I mean, I maybe about a year in, I started to get interested in other styles of music and other drummers and stuff.
Right.
My teacher as well. One day that was like they say in science, like a red letter day, like when a light bulb goes off kind of thing. For me, was I walked into my lesson and my teacher was playing Tower of Power. And when you're going from only having heard really standard Western, like American pop or rock music, hearing when you're young, hearing something like Tower of Power and some of those really interesting grooves is like, it's nothing you ever heard before. So it's like music from aliens, like from Mars or something. So I walked into this lesson and my jaw hit the floor when I heard, it might have been like the end of the outro of What Is Hip, or it might have been Soul Vaccination.
Right.
Either one of them, those grooves are both like really unique.
Right.
So
Oracle Stroke, for instance, yeah.
Yeah, it could have been Oakland Stroke, actually. Yeah. It could have been. Whatever it was, I was like I said, my jaw was on the floor, and I had to find out everything I could about it. So that was one of the sort of gateways that opened the doors to getting involved and learning about other music, like funk, fusion, jazz, and then exploring all that music in whatever capacity I could. McGill in Montreal offered, through their conservatory, offered a jazz combo for students or people of any age, and I started doing that, and I also went to music camp in the summer.
Right.
I got exposed to playing wind ensemble music, big band music, and jazz, and all different stuff. Also, the first time I was really someone was like, "You got to check out Neil Peart and Rush." It's like, yeah, I know Neil Peart from Modern Drummer. I never really checked out the music, and so they asked me to play YYZ. I was 13 years old, and so getting immersed into everything that drums and music had to offer beyond Guns N' Roses and Metallica, that was like the beginning for me of why, when I was 16, 17, I'm playing the Jazz Fest and playing in like big bands and stuff.
Interesting. No, my moment, it's interesting because my moment was somebody, I mean, this is a cassette, but my moment, someone gave me Moving Pictures as a cassette and said, listen to this. And I'm like you, Motley Crue, Guns N' Roses, whatever. Yeah. And I'm listening to this and I'm like, is that two hands on the hi-hat or is that one? What is he doing? What? and it was just like, okay, I don't understand this, but I got to check it out. So yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So did you take it upon yourself to try to learn some of those songs at the time?
Oh my God, yes. I was like, I got to learn how to do this, and I got to know how to relax my hand to be able to do it. Those 16s. I got to. What's this fill? Okay, there's more than a bucket of fish. Tekapoom, tekapoom. There's way more than just that. For instance.
Yeah, for sure.
And you start from there, and as you say, you grow from other places.
Yeah.
But how was that? I mean, and if I forgive me, but you're 17-year-old, you're on the Jazz Fest kind of thing, and you're ripping into that kit, and it's really nice to see. I mean, 17 years old, and they're just doing all these these fills and just that confidence. I mean, it's not given to anyone. I mean, I remember seeing 17 years old really behind my drum kit and just kind of hiding behind it, kind of thing. So
yeah. Well, what's the interesting thing about it is like I feel like, for young people, adolescents, like if they excel at something, it gives them a little bit of like a boost of self-esteem and a little bit of confidence. And I think it really helped me a lot because I struggled as a kid in school. I'm actually visually impaired, so I had a hard time. I was always behind in classes in school because I couldn't see the chalkboard or anything.
I see. Okay.
So when I discovered drums and dedicated myself to it, and also I guess because I was so dedicated to it, it just and focused on it. It kind of came easy, at least in the first few years. To be able to get the technique down and the rudiments down and things like that, because I wanted it so badly, it came easy to me, So and then just being so excited about all the different things I was hearing and trying to emulate them, it definitely and actually sort of nailing it, maybe not on a professional level, but good enough for a teenager, I guess.
Exactly.
At least then, in the 90s. Yeah. Nowadays, if you're not like you don't sound like a seasoned pro when you're 12, you got no shot. Yeah, kids today are ridiculously amazing. For sure. But for me then, it definitely gave me a boost of confidence, and that's why at that age I just was I guess maybe a bit cocky. I can go out there and just blaze a bunch of crazy chops and whatever.
But I think
if you don't like it, too bad.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think that's exactly. I think that's the attitude of a 17-year-old, which is beautiful to see. Because I think sometimes we kind of lose that down the road. We're more like, I got to think about this. I got to be, kind of.
I've lost it.
It could be for the better, but I think sometimes, because I remember that that angst or that sort of wanting to prove yourself kind of attitude to it.
Exactly. Yeah. So that stop at nothing. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And but yeah, it's a beautiful thing to see actually at 17 years old and it's really cool that your parents were kind of supportive, but. Does that then? Where does Berklee come in? Did you have that interest? Was it passed on to you? Or?
Yeah, I did. It was when I was in high school. We had the school band and everything, and they brought in this drum teacher to help with the percussion department. Okay. Pierre Montplaisir. Maybe you know him from Montreal.
No, doesn't ring a bell. No.
I'm not sure what he's doing these days. He was playing in wedding bands and things like that back in the early 90s. Okay. Anyway, he brought in a Steve Smith instructional video one morning, and in the opening monologue, Steve Smith refers to his time at Berklee. So as soon as I heard that, it just clicked in my head. I was 14 or something like that, and I just said, "Okay, well, he went there." I see Berklee and modern drummer all over the place.
Right.
So, and I was also getting into Vinny Colaiuta at the time, who I heard had also gone there. So, to me, it was cemented. It was solidified that I had to. That was my goal. Before becoming a professional musician, I had to go to Berklee. So I just made it happen.
And how was that experience quickly? Like, what do you take from it? What do you use still from today, from that experience?
It was real, like, I mean, I think a lot of people go there, being sort of with this big fish in a small pond mentality. They come from their communities, from their towns or cities, where maybe they might stand out a little bit. I mean, I kind of did, or at least I thought I did, in my circles in Montreal. And when I got there, it was like I got a real ass kicking, let's say, because there was a lot of people and they were a lot better, and there was a highly competitive environment. And when you're young, it definitely is a good thing. It teaches you a lot. There's so much to learn from that. And I tried to learn from it and rise to the occasion and take my classes seriously,
right,
and get the most I could out of it, and make the most connections and friendships I could. Just explore as much as possible. And I mean, I was there for a year. By the time, because it's so big, you're basically like, if you're a drummer, you're one of like, almost 1,000 drummers.
Really?
Of all different styles and all different skill levels, and
okay.
Some of them, some players were just, were so incredible. They were like subbing for, Jeff Tain Watts. I remember there was a student, Kendrick Scott, who was there at the time, and he was like on par with like Jeff Tain Watts and buddies with Dennis Chambers, and
wow.
like,
okay.
He would be like, "Oh, I gotta leave school and go play with Herbie for a week or something like that,"
okay.
So there was other students of that level.
Yeah.
Man. So it was pretty wild. Very, very, very cool. But sorry, I was going to say, by the end of my 2 semesters there, that's when I finally started to like turn a few heads, because it takes a while. Like it's like being in the music business. It's like a microcosm of the music business. You try to make a name for yourself and get people to take notice and maybe start using you on recordings, or maybe form a band with you or something.
Right.
Those opportunities were really only started to show themselves in a real way by the end of my time there. Unfortunately, I was supposed to go back, but I ended up getting a gig.
Which is, I believe, Mahogany Rush. Is that where that started?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So and it was sort of that came about because of having the sort of prestige of attending Berkeley,
but
where for some,
I was going to say
that's. No, you go.
No, sorry, I don't need to. But yes, exactly. So the prestige of going Berkeley, because of course it is kind of that renowned school, and I mean, yes, there's probably other people that are so wow, but just to attend and to be able to follow classes is kind of a feat in itself, if you will. So
to follow classes.
Well, to be at the school, to be one of those drummers that actually is, taking classes and being at the school.
Oh, yeah. That's actually, it's funny, because I think they've gone through different stages over their however many decades they've been established. But I think the audition process now versus when I was there is a bit more fierce.
Oh,
when I was there, they were accepting as long as you could kind of pay, and then the distinction was whether you had scholarship or not. Because they just, it's business like anything else. They still want to make money.
Okay.
But so they've gone through stages. I know back in like the 70s, you had to get in, so to speak. Not to take anything away from myself, but in the late 90s, like I think they were accepting if you wanted to go and could pay, you could go, and they'll just place you accordingly.
Okay.
But I did manage to score some like partial scholarship.
Well, that's what I mean. Give yourself some credit, Josh.
Okay.
Don't be so Canadian. Don't be so Canadian.
All right. Yeah, I know exactly. That's another thing I learned there. I learned how to be an unapologetic American.
Exactly. Promote yourself. Say, I can do this. Yeah.
Totally.
But moving on. So Mahogany Rush, which of course is a Canadian band.
Yeah.
And so how did that happen?
So when I was in high school, I was in like kind of a rock band with some kids from another school, and as well. Okay, so one of the kids in that band, his father was and still is the president and founder of Just in Time Records, which is a big jazz label,
right?
And he was involved with Frank Marino, actually from his early days. One of his first gigs was like a crew guy for Frank Marino and Mahogany Rush. Fast forward to the late 90s, has a huge jazz label. Frank Marino is now on that label in the head of like a rock subsidiary. And so through the president's son, Justin, who actually has his own record label now, who has artists like Patrick Watson, he's doing very well, called Secret City Records. And also through the big band and jazz playing and things I was doing, I was on their radar, let's say.
Okay.
And also because I was going to Berkeley, it gave me the added sort of prestige, I guess, to be like, hey, you should check out this kid. He goes to Berkeley.
Give yourself some credit.
Like you're looking for a new drummer. Man, this kid, he's from town here, but he goes to Berkeley. Check him out. So Frank was like, yeah, I don't really care about that. Can he play? Whatever. Right. So they showed him the video where I actually was playing at the Montreal Drum Fest in the Yamaha Rising Star showcase.
Right.
And he just was like, okay, like there's some good stuff here, I guess. I'd like to meet him. So we met, and 2 months later, I'm on the road with him.
Cool. So you're moving from student to finally touring and kind of playing with all over these places, I guess.
Oh yeah, that was the biggest lesson probably of my life, because the transition from student to professional, where you really can't screw up, where you really have to have your time together, where you have to rise to the occasion. You have paying audiences all over North America, so you got to get your shit together, and I did on the road. Like if you listen to the first couple of gigs versus the last couple of gigs on that tour, it's like apples and oranges, man. It's like night and day.
Yeah, for sure. No, for sure.
Yeah.
But that's another kind of school. It's the live gig school. It's the on the road school. It's the band mentality and all that stuff. Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. Yeah, which was invaluable. Hugely invaluable.
So you're with them for until 2005, I believe?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so we did, and I had a lot of great experiences with him. We traveled to the UK, where I got to also play music with Jack Bruce from Cream.
Right.
Uli John Roth. Yeah, Glenn Hughes.
Oh, wow.
It was like, to me at the time, I remember being like, this isn't really happening. This is too good to be true. This is way too early in my career. I was like, you're not this. I said to some people, like, because I was like, I have like anxiety and like I get paranoid. I'm like, really, wow, this plane is destined to crash in the Atlantic on the way. I'm not meant to play with these people.
Come on, give yourself some credit again.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Anyway, it worked out. Yeah, and it was a crazy, amazing experience. So yeah, I was with him, with Frank, until 2005, and that's when I joined the Sam Roberts guys,
which has been your band for the past 15 years now, I think.
Exactly.
Yeah. So talk to me about. I haven't
done anything in my life for this long.
Yeah. It's a good testament to how you guys get together well, I imagine. I imagine it's a family, and it's
Yeah. Well, it's exactly. It's a testament to the kind of people we work with, the kind of people we surround ourselves with, our whole team, everyone in the band. everyone's just a good guy, really.
And quickly, like, if you could just take me through like a Sam Roberts show or Sam Roberts album, what's your role? How do you play? What do you figure? How does it work exactly?
Well, it's definitely. I mean, the creative process has, it's sort of ever evolving. From the moment I came into the band, I've never been one to shy away from voicing my opinion or an idea, a musical idea or what have you.
It's very
but
democratic.
You have to. Yeah, it is definitely. Sam is definitely that kind of leader where he will hear everyone out and he wants to know people's opinions and thoughts, but still it's his name and it's his compositions. So that being said, you still have to know your role, and I like to think I never overstepped mine. But definitely I've been able to offer my own some of my ideas and put my own stamp on some things here and there. And honestly, like when a song plays itself, no one really needs to say anything. And that's also the mark of a great song, which being with Sam all these years, I've had the good fortune of playing on some great songs. And then, live, the role is a little bit different because everyone's playing together, and the drummer in particular obviously has a little bit more of a role as a leader in that sense.
So it's sort of a timekeeper, but of course that makes sure that the band knows where they are and what's going on, kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And like different cues and things like that. And like, let's say we jam something out, which obviously doesn't happen during the creative process. It's hearing a Sam Roberts band record versus seeing a Sam Roberts band show are two very different experiences.
Right. Exactly.
And for myself and the rest of the guys in the band, they're two different experiences from our point of view as well.
And do you have a sort of an advice, or to be able to in the band so long and to just to make it work so long? Like, what's your advice? What do you take from that experience so far?
You have to roll with the punches. It's like any job where there's good days and bad days, and there's days where you want to like hug your bandmates, and there's days where you want to punch your bandmates, and that goes for anyone in any position, anywhere, in any office, anywhere. Right. So like it's just with anything, picking your battles, and we never fight. You always hear about like bands fighting and getting really like pent up and stuff, freaking out. Like we've managed to just be cool with each other, and it definitely works out. And it's and that's it. Just be smart and be cool and learn to adapt and be around different people and understand how to conduct yourself and be mindful. That's the advice. The other stuff is it's like we had a tour manager we were just talking about like having some like bringing other people into the fold, and like a tour manager was giving like advice to someone coming in new, and he was like, like the hang is 80%.
Right. No, exactly.
If you can hang, if you can hang, then the rest of the stuff doesn't really matter all that much.
There's a quick. I was at a I forgot Omar Hakim clinic, and he's talking about the fact that he's auditioning for Zamino for the band.
Weather report, yeah.
The weather report. And he says, the first thing I did is just hang with him. He didn't want me to audition. He just wanted me to hang with him for, an hour or so, have dinner, talk, whatever. And I'm like, I guess this is the audition. And, and then that's how he got the gig, because it just meshed with the other guys, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
I feel like I remember him talking about that the first time I saw Omar in Clinic in '94 at the Drumfest.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think that's also where I got it. So.
Were you there?
I've been going to Drumfest since pretty much that year, I think. Yeah, for sure. we have common.
We are paths across.
Yeah, paths across before without knowing it. So exactly. We've already come to the end of it, Joss. It's almost time to say goodbye already. It goes by so fast. So,
that's too bad. There's so much more to talk about. There's so many drummers to talk about.
Well, quickly, you got 2 minutes. So if you want to talk about whatever, and also just to let people know where they can find you, what's happening with you in the future. Of course, we have COVID, but what's going on with the band?
Yeah. Well, yeah, actually, we have a new album coming out soon. We haven't announced the release date yet, but it'll be this fall. And we have a couple of singles out already. And at this moment, that's all I can say. Actually, when is it going to be airing?
It should be airing in the fall. I'm not sure exactly the date, but probably after the records. Probably after the records out. Yeah.
Okay, so it's called All of Us, and it's coming out, or it came out on October 16th. So as long as this doesn't air before that, then we're good.
I'll edit that out if not.
Yeah, and also I, since the pandemic happened, and we've been seeing so many virtual, isolated versions of bands playing, in little squares like the Brady Bunch or like a Zoom. I had the idea to do something with a bunch of drummers. Because I haven't seen anyone do that, where it's just drummers all together playing one song.
For sure.
So I actually put that together with one of my band's songs called "We're All in This Together," which kind of became a somewhat of a little bit of an anthem during these times.
Right.
And so yeah, I got a whole bunch of great known Canadian drummers to play the song, and I put it all together, and it's the group is called the Keepers of the Backbeat.
Okay. Promotion.
Yeah, which is actually a lyric from one of our other songs,
Them
Kids.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's going to be coming out soon, or at this point when our thing here comes out, it'll have already been out. And it's for a charity, Unison Benevolent Fund, which provides relief for musicians and people in our industry, in the live music industry, musicians and crew members, people like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's pretty cool, and it took a lot of work, and I'm very proud of it.
Sounds good. I look forward to seeing that for sure.
Yeah.
We got to go, unfortunately. We're out of time. It'd be interesting to talk to you even more, but we got to go. I'll send you a picture. Yeah. I'll send you a picture of my Westbury just to see if it's the same color or sort of the same thing. We can compare.
I'm sure it is, man. Oh God. Yeah, I have a few pictures. I'll send some back your way as well.
Super interesting, Joss. I thank you so much for your time. Taking the time
Denny,
with us.
Man.
And
thanks for having me. And thanks to Eric as well.
There we go. Perfect timing. We got an alarm of whatever's in the background from you showing up as we end the interview.
Exactly. Yeah.
I wish you the best in Toronto, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks, man. Same to you. Cheers.
Cheers to you, man.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much, Josh. Thank you for spending some time with us. Moving on to the next guest. My next guest is quite the institution here in Montreal and, of course, North America. Basically, he studied different percussions, lots of different percussions. He studied with Pierre Luluse back in the day at McGill University. He formed a group called Répercussion, which are still active some 40 years plus later. Very fun group. I invite you to see that one of these days. It's played on a ton of different CDs from Celine Dion, Aldo Nova, James Brown, Krista Berg, and also Alain Caron, just to name a few. And of course, he is the founder of Cosa Music, which is, of course, a drumming percussion camp that takes place here in Montreal, parts of the United States, and also in Cuba. So lots to talk about. Let's welcome one of my favorite educators at Drumfills Cafe, Mr. Aldo Mazza. Well, welcome to Drumfills Cafe. Thank you for basically saying yes to our invitation.
Pleasure. Thank you for having me. It's funny. Yesterday, I was involved in there's this company doing a series, a documentary series for Netflix. I think for Netflix,
right?
About drums and drumming and rhythm and world cultures, etc., etc. So they came to town, and so we were filming in studio all day yesterday, filming, nice. Playing, and what we thought was going to be an hour interview turned out to be, by the time we finished, it was 4. But it was great. They're going up all over the world, and they're doing the right thing, the right approach, culturally, and it's a nice approach. I really like what they're doing. So it was nice to be out, because we're not out these days anymore, right?
No, exactly. I guess we can elaborate on that. Before I continue, I seem to be cutting your vocal off every time I talk for some reason.
Yeah. Well, that's the Zoom problem.
Okay.
It's either you or the other. So okay. You have to have a tiny space between. Yeah.
So I'll wait for you to finish your thoughts before I ask a question. So Aldo, we have so much to cover because you have a very, very diverse career. So I thought we'd focus on Aldo, the percussionist, and and I said the drummer, mostly. And of course, we can't pass by without talking about Cosa and everything like that. But I thought we'd take at least a chunk of time to talk about, what you do behind your kit, basically, and how you got there and all that stuff, if you will.
Okay.
So, of course, the thing I ask everyone is your beginnings. I'm personally interested in your beginnings because I believe you started in rock drumming, and then you switched to classical and now the hybrid drums that you are. So if you could talk about that a bit, how did that come about?
Well, originally, like everybody else, like most people, I should say, you start playing with your friends in high school. Then quickly, with my friends were really, really good musicians. I grew up in Ottawa before coming to Montreal. And it was one of those things that just blossomed very quickly. Friday nights we would get together with friends, playing, and then we had our own kind of fan base because it was all our friends who would come and have a drink while we're practicing. So it was like a party practice and a hangout. So that's what we did, while others might be out stealing cars or hubcaps. We were having fun playing music and having a drink and hanging out. And this was like the Friday night thing in our little community. And then that quickly blossomed to all of a sudden we more and more friends knew we were doing this and it was fun. And then we got asked to play at a local park one summer. Okay. Instantly, we became like the Beatles, and everybody was all of a sudden friends, and the word got out, and then we got asked to play at a dance, and somebody actually offered us money to play, and I said, wait a second. So I went to the other guys. I said, guys, there's this man over here who asked us to play at a dance. Right. Give us $75. Oh my God! I get paid to do this. Yes. Sure. So we got together a repertoire to do that, and then somebody said, hey, we really like what you do. How about coming again next Saturday? And then there's another one, those kinds of things. So it just spread out. And then we had fun during that. We were in high school, so early high school. And then that really blossomed to a group that started playing more and more out. And actually... And I played with several bands, in and out. And then that final group that came back around from the first guys, it was at a moment when I was in my late teens, and I had just gone to a drum camp that I discovered, and I was playing rock, but I was feeling that I really needed to expand. I was playing some percussion in high school. I had a teacher teaching me a little bit. So I got really turned on to reading, a little bit of timpani, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And I started incorporating all of those instruments into my rock playing.
Yeah.
A little glockenspiel, because I like the sound of all of these things, not just the drum set. So I was having fun with that. And then all of a sudden, the group, we recorded a song, and it just took off. And the group became a big thing. It got actually signed to Capricorn Records in Atlanta. And this is like the big time. At the same time, I got accepted at McGill.
Oh.
So we were playing, and this is the big break, and that everybody was happy. The contract was to record an album in Florida at the famous Criteria Studios that Chicago used to record at, and
Okay.
and this Bee Gees, all of this.
I see. Okay.
And so it was like I was already known in that community, but I really wanted to do this, and I went to a camp where I had the opportunity to study with some greats: Joe Morello, Carmine Appice,
Wow.
Gary Burton. Gary Burton showed me actually how to hold four mallets. So for me, it was a whole revelation. And Joe Morello, they would talk about trading fours. And, I had no idea. We traded cards. We didn't trade fours. So, I had a whole learning curve, very fast. I was jetted into a whole other reality. So when I came back, I quit the band, moved to Montreal, went to McGill. They thought I was crazy. Everybody's calling each other and it's saying, I think Aldo went crazy. I don't know what happened to him. Doing really strange things, like he moved to Montreal. And we got the band is like, what? Is he crazy? And of course, I said, no, I want to know what I'm doing. I want to expand this thing because I had a taste of it. And so when I came here, I studied with a guy called Pierre Beluse at McGill.
Right.
Probably one of the top people on the planet as far as a teacher and a mentor. And in fact, he taught most of the great people in Canada. And there's a whole culture in Montreal of great drummers and percussionists. It's huge, from the Conservatoire, Université de Montréal, McGill. But Louis Charbonneau at the time and Guy Lachapelle were the three guys who were in the Montreal Symphony percussion section, were the teachers and creating all these other players. And often I would be, my teacher Pierre would send me to something and I wouldn't even have to audition. I would play with an orchestra or play with a musical or any situation or any artist. In fact, I remember one day he comes into the room and says, I have a little problem. The percussionist who's touring with Andre Gagnon can't play his little tour in the States, and they're starting in Washington at the Kennedy Center, and it's next Saturday. And there's no rehearsal. Here's the music. See ya. So it was like that. No audition. You just, here it is. And if somebody knew you studied with Pierre Beluse, they knew you could play. They knew what to expect. Hands down. It was a beautiful thing, And,
I'm just gonna stop you because there's a lot there. So and since I'm realizing I can only talk over you, but that is crazy because most of us, what we want is that contract. I know those things aren't something that exists anymore, but at least back in the day, those things are, that's what we were seeking for. So for you to sort of leave that to go, study your craft, that is, I must admit, that is quite a feat. But at the same time, I respect that to wanting to know something else, and it's probably worked out in the long run for you because you're expressing a story that here you are, you have I don't know how many days before you can do a show, and voila, you're ready and you're set up. So
oh yeah, and it's crazy because at that moment I said if I stay with this rock band, they're going to be famous. These are and the songs were huge. uh, they were like an Eagles type band, and they were like the next, and they did have great success.
What's the name of the band?
The Cooper Brothers.
Okay.
They had "The Dream Never Dies," which is a big song, "Rock and Roll Cowboys," and now in the beginning they all thought I was crazy, and I respected it. I mean, great writers, great singers, great band, but I wasn't writing the material. I could be expendable. Somebody didn't like my height. Somebody didn't like my shoes. In those big leagues, you have nothing to go on. I don't own the thing. I'm just one of the guys, and I just felt uncomfortable with that. I said, I gotta learn how to read. And then I got a taste of the studio, and I said, I want to be a studio musician. That's what I want to be. And so when I went to this camp, which is funny because it was this camp that was my inspiration for Kosa, studying with those guys. And then I said, well, if that had that effect on me, imagine if we can reproduce that tenfold and make that kind of experience, but much bigger. Make it like you're at home. Well, you remember you were there when Steve Gadd was there, right?
Yes.
So, and this is what I'm talking about. Whether it's Neil Peart in the room, Steve Gadd, or David Garibaldi, or anybody, your family, you're in the room, you're there to learn, and we share. It doesn't matter that you just picked up sticks or that you're professional and you've been doing this for a long time. There is room for all of us to grow, and especially with people who are the very inventors of these things, the very people that you should be sitting with. And it's not like you're sitting in a room and you don't count. No, you count a lot, and these become your friends.
No,
Harvey Mason or Jimmy Cobb, and we've had most of the great guys.
Mm-hmm. Well, before we get to Kosa, because indeed, and to reiterate on that, the moment where we're all like, very attentive towards Steve Gadd and going like this, it's funny because the thing I learned that day from Steve Gadd is don't lose the audience. And I thought that was a great piece of advice. And it's not something you can, go through on a YouTube channel and figure out, oh, he's doing that sort of thing with a triplet. That it's piece of advice of just having a conversation with the man kind of thing. And that's the thing that you can find, for instance, at your camp, where you just have a conversation with these people, and it's very interesting. It's very educative.
Yeah, and in my personal path, I mean, when I went to McGill and studied with Pierre, and he was the greatest. I mean, we can even say any of us who studied with him, and we'll say it to each other. He made us. I mean, of course, we had to do the work, but we were passionate about it. We were there, all of us. And we did great things, and he pushed us to do great things. At the same time, I had no real plans to stay in Montreal because I came here because of him. And I said, I have a lot to learn. So I was practicing 8 hours a day. And then I started immediately studying in New York. So every month I would go to New York and study things that I couldn't get here. Jazz drummers of all kinds. All the Cuban stuff, all the world music things. I was studying with Glenn Velez on hand percussion. I was studying with some great jazz drummers. And also that's where I actually met Steve Gadd, because he used to take me around to the studios. And I started kind of planting the seeds to move to New York. So I started to know a lot of people, and people would invite me to the sessions. Just to be a fly on the wall, I would learn the etiquette, the professional etiquette. How do you behave? How do you do this? Both from a personal, professional, but also from the music. How did they approach that? When they would do another take, I remember Steve Gadd playing. I was there with who was the guitar player? Heard it through the grapevine. Dave Grusin was on piano, Will Lee on bass.
Oh, good.
And they were doing these things live, off the floor, in the room. So I'm sitting there, and the thing sounds amazing. And I'm going, wow, what brilliance, I'm going to myself. So the engineer says, Dave, what do you think? Do you want to keep that one? No, we're going to do another one. And we go, oh, man, I would keep that. But then they do another take, and it's like another level. And saying, holy God, like they talked it through a little bit, and you could see the process, what that was. And that was a tremendous learning experience. And then Steve Gadd would say, okay, he used to drive a little Honda Civic. I mean, I was in my early 20s. He was probably mid-20s. He wasn't that old. We'd run around the city. He said, I have to go to the record shop. I got to buy this Tony album I need to listen to. So we go to the record shop, and he picked that up, buy it. We go to the next recording session, or other times with other people. Or I would have a lesson with Bernard Purdy, for example. And he was funny because when I would do a lesson with him, it was always before a recording date of his. So he'd show up early, do my lesson, and then I would stay to watch the recording. So I'm getting like a kind of a double lesson of learning not only from the master himself, and what he's thinking, the technical aspects of it, the musical, but then also be able to contextualize it in the recording and how they approach this. So this was my whole learning experience there. Plus, I'm learning all the classical, contemporary. I went to things like study a weekend intensive with John Cage, back then. And then I would...
The composer?
Yes.
Wow.
Then I went, I would go to the summer jazz camps, big band camps. And Phil Wilson had a big band that they would do every summer up in Illinois somewhere, some university in the States. And all of these people, Jack Mouse was on drums, Phil Wilson, Ashley Alexander, half the guys from Berkeley who taught at this thing. And, I'm practicing in a room one day, and Phil Wilson, the trombone player, I think he still teaches at Berkeley, a phenomenal player, comes in my room. He says, Aldo, what are you doing tonight? I said, well, I'm coming to the big band concert. You guys are playing the faculty concert. I'm coming to the concert. He says, well, I'd like you to come this afternoon to the rehearsal. So anyway, I ended up, they were recording for an album. So I ended up playing on the album.
No.
Bass player was Steve Rodby, who played with Pat Metheny for a long time. Okay. So all of these things are, intertwining. So I met all kinds of great people as a student in different contexts. So I was studying jazz, the big band. I went to the J.B. Abersol clinics. I went to a marimba camp. I went to drum set, everything I could get my hands on. I did.
Cool. No, without a doubt. Then that would explain repercussion then, because if you have that appetite to seek out and try all these things, then that would explain why a band like Repercussion or Répercussion, I don't know how if you say it more in French or in English, but both would happen. So talk to me quickly about that, because you guys are still active. You're still going after all these years, which is very cool.
Yes, that's an interesting one. I met the guys while I was at McGill. Actually, two things were going on at the same time. The McGill Percussion Ensemble, directed by Pierre Belluz, we were 9 percussionists, and there were all the top guys in town who went on. And we were recording contemporary music, but we were also recording pop albums of our own under the name Concept Neuf. And we were 9 percussionists, the same people, and we did some pop albums of André Gagnon material, a lot of those kinds of Chuck Mangione stuff. Ralph McDonald, the percussionist, because he did record a song called The Path, which was huge. And actually Steve Gadd plays on the original recording with the Brecker brothers. And so this was an 9 percussionists doing this, so 9 people. At the same time, while I was at university, Robert and Chantal came to the university to study with Pierre while waiting for Michel at the time, who was finishing his conservatoire, so that they could restart the group. Because originally they were from Quebec City, and they were 6 percussionists. Okay. And so they decided, 3 of them decided, we're going to move to Montreal, kind of stop the show. There were 6 percussionists, and move to Montreal, Michel had one more year of finishing at the Conservatoire, while Chantal and Robert decided to wait it out, but also study with Pierre because he was the guy. And so that's how we met in the ensemble. And then at one point at Répétition, as when we formed it as a quartet, they asked me to join the group. And we started rehearsing, we started packaging it, we started deciding repertoire and stuff. And it very quickly, became a thing, you know what I mean? We were playing all over the place, and we were doing contemporary music, but then I would bring in something that was not so contemporary. The other guy, something dedicated to Gary Burton. So we started blurring the lines. We just started expanding it. We said, when we saw that each one of us had the same kind of idea, we didn't want to end up playing in a symphony orchestra, only because, although as great as it is, it's not our personality. We want to not run the show, but kind of have control, artistic control of what we do. And I'd rather be in the front than in the back. And not dressed in black, like going to a funeral. And you can smile at people and have fun. And it's okay. And then we started messing around with doing like a Bach fugue. And then the four of us, the Bach fugue, the voice moves around. Well, we hired a choreographer and we said, it's boring. Just watching people sit there and then play again and then wait. So we started messing with this with a choreographer. He said, well, each one of you is a voice. Why don't you just move around as the voice? So we started doing that kind of thing to make it visually interesting, and for us interesting too, rather than just wait around and wait in black, waiting to play and move things. And so there was not a moment wasted. Everything was scripted. We had smoke machines, then we added lights, so we became like of percussion, and then we started stretching and doing African drumming with a dancer from Africa to join us, and then we would do weather report type stuff, and then we would do a Bach fugue. Then we would Mozart, four hands Mozart on one marimba, and the four of us would just run around and play the thing, and we have fun with this. And if you had an accident, well, the whole thing would collapse, like we'd miss a step or step on somebody's toe. But it was so much fun because it was another kind of challenge. And what you said earlier about remember the audience, and of course that's why you're there. You're not there in a rehearsal and working stuff. There's time for that. But now you are presenting something to people who are interested in what you do. They paid money to see you, and they should have an experience, very high musical experience, but also they were somewhere and they experienced something that was very unique, like they're with you. So, and we had that kind of rapport with all along, and we did some really, really crazy musical things that we got all slammed by the critics sometimes, but we had to lead, not follow.
Well,
okay, go ahead.
But it's, again, you explained it so well, because that's kind of the feeling I was when I was looking through your bio and watching your videos. I'm like, man, these guys are smiling so much. Like, it looks like a fun show, and it just comes out. All of you are just having fun, and it just comes out. And I thought that's so cool, because it takes, as you say, it takes away that seriousness of it. And as you say, the audience, just watching the videos, I was kind of like, oh, this is cool. I'll watch it to the end, kind of thing. So
yeah, and not that it's not serious. I mean, we take it very seriously, but it's serious fun. And I think that's important. You take what you do seriously, but you don't take yourself seriously.
I want to quickly talk about COSA, because that is quite your baby, and that has been very important. Anyways, I know in Montreal area, and of course international, very quickly. And quickly talk about how COSA is going to continue with the COVID and everything, because I know this year, for instance, you had to do it virtual, but it seemed to work very well. And so could you just elaborate about that?
Yes. Well, 25 years ago, we started this, I say we because my wife, Yolande, was involved. I mean, I had this in my head all along. I had it completely designed in my mind. And I was at a friend of mine in Vermont. I used to go to Vermont a lot. And I would say to him, he's a musician, we're still friends, and he turned out he became our marketing director for the whole project all along. And so I sat in his house, and I said to him, okay, now I'm at a place in my life. I had just met Yolande, we just got married, and I said, now this idea I've had, I want to do this, and here it is. I want to bring together the world's top artists in a place in the mountains of Vermont. We'll take over a college campus, and we're going to have classes like this. And I described the whole project. And the campus is going to look like this. Theater here, little lake over here where we do the outside the drum circles, and then the classical will be here. We'll have the funk here. We'll have the in different rooms and the dorms there and all that. So he said, well, you're talking about Johnson State College, which is 15 minutes from here. I said, never heard of it. So I said, get in the car. We drive into the campus, and it was exactly what I described. This little campus in the middle of these mountains. It's about 15 minutes from Stowe.
Okay.
And I said, that's it. I said, who do we have to speak to? So he said, well, I know the chair of the music department. He's a good friend, a guy, jazz piano player from the Bronx. So we went to meet him in his office, and I described my thing, and he said, like, God must have sent you. He said, because I've been dreaming about somebody doing something here, because I'm from New York, and being in the mountains of Vermont, as much as I love this, it gets really quiet. It would be really nice to have. So I said, okay, well, what do we have to do? Who do we speak to? What's the channel? So we started the COSA right away with that whole concept. So ever since, having it's like a 1 week intensive studying with these people in a small classroom situation. So classes wouldn't be more than 5-10 people at the most. That's the most. I remember Carmine Appice once, when he was there, was there many times, but the first time he says, Aldo, I only had 4 people in my class. I said, that's beautiful. It could have been 2. He says, but the whole design is there were 20 artists. And so everybody has 5 classes. So they'll do 1 classical class, 1 funk class, 1 rock class. And many classes are happening at the same time. So they have to shift around and figure it out. That was a big deal. So the whole purpose is for you to work with a small group of people. And that is like so rare for them to be sitting with someone like you and you're only 4 people. Whether it's Jimmy Cobb or him or Steve Smith, you're 5-8 people. I mean, Dennis Chambers had 10 people in his class. We're 80 people in the camp, but each class is so small, so everyone has up close and personal, and you have relationships that develop over the time. So questions that come up, you have a chance to go beyond it and get really inspired. And then those people who are really on the edge and needing, these are all the people you studied with, from Jim Chapin to you name it.
Yeah. And that continues, because when I went last year, that was the same kind of idea. I mean, we were, I think, maybe 12 or whatever it was, 12, 15, I'm not sure.
We had a cap of 25.
25, okay, sorry. I wasn't there all the days, but yeah, but there's still that intimacy.
Yeah. And then we had Steve Gadd, we had Antonio Sanchez, we had Mark Kelso from Toronto, we had, we had some great people. But that was the whole idea. But before it was a different program, because now it's the same program and everybody follows the same program. Before, it was like going to university. You choose your classes, but you can go to any class you want. But by default, these classes will be small because there are so many classes going on that you really have to choose and decide what you want to do. But you have all week to do it.
Right. And now you did it virtually. So quickly, how did that go? And after that, I unfortunately we have to stop because we're past our time. And I know I could talk to you, but how did that go this year for virtual?
It went great. I mean, we do the thing in China and Cuba and the same idea. But this summer, this was our 25th anniversary celebration, and we had all kinds of plans. With the jazz festival, it was really a big plan. But then we decided since it's not going to happen, all our lessons here online, we went online quickly. And then I said, you know what? We really should experiment with this, do the camp online. And I think we can do it. So we did a lot of experimenting. I reached out to different people. I mean, Chester Thompson wasn't quite ready. Mike Clark wasn't quite ready. Just the technology part, because it all happened so fast. So I would make the rounds of all the people and make sure they had the technology in place and also what our approach was going to be. And I said, we're going to have the same experience as if we were in the room. And so I said, we'll have 4 classes a day, and we stop at 4 o'clock because people have families and they have things to do. And then on the Friday night, we had a competition. So people would perform live, and our sponsors would send them instruments, the winners. And we'll do a little performance live, each one. So the whole thing, it started off fantastic. I mean, nobody wanted to leave. At 4 o'clock, I'm saying, we got to stop now. But nobody wanted to stop. Then all of a sudden you have, Dave Garibaldi asking John Riley a question. And everybody's... Yes. So everybody's saying, "Oh my God!" I said, "Okay. I mean, if you guys are okay with that, but I don't want to push it." I said, "No." So they kept going, and then I thought, well, they'll do the performance at the end, like we usually do a grand finale. And I said, well, let's do a competition. So each person performed. And of course, the winners, they got, Ludwig sent instruments, Pearl sent, the companies that we were involved, they received instruments, and everybody was surprised. But then during the week, I said, let's do something else. As people were learning, like Alan Molnar was teaching using GarageBand, but doing something live, very on a simple scale. So we said, okay, using your phone, we'll send everybody just a guide track, and you play over this just a 4-bar solo. We'll send it to you, you just send it back. So Alan then put it all together. So on the last day, they all recorded individually between classes, their 4 bars, and we did it live.
That's awesome.
And then the funny part was, I said, that just the participants were going to, I didn't want to push for the artists to be involved in that particular thing. But then all of a sudden, Marcus Santos says, no, I'd like to play. And Chester Thompson says, well, send me that one too. So they all played on this. It was nice. So we managed to recreate, like almost being there, this learning experience, interactive. And I think we're going to be there for a while. So that's our next plan, is we're completely online, and we're going to be offering online courses and lessons with the greats also. And we offer university credits, so we can help all the universities who need extra credits, the people who are going to be online anyway. So study through COSA and have credits and have access to not only the local faculty, us who are here, but also the international faculty that we're finalizing right now. Okay. So we're going to be doing that for a while.
Awesome. I have to stop you there, unfortunately, Aldo. I personally could listen to you all day, I know, but unfortunately we have to stop there. So for anyone who wants to know about you, about COSA, where do they go?
COSAmusic.com is the website. Info@cosamusic.com is the email address for any information. And if you just go online, cosamusic.com, you'll get all the information that's happening. We also have our Facebook pages, but you'll see on the site.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for all the stories. I know our listeners will appreciate it. And I wish you all the best. And I will do my best to be there next year, virtually with you at the next COSA.
If not live, and it'll definitely be virtual, and it'll be, we'll just take it to the next level, and we'll have as much fun as we can with this. Thank you, Denis.
You're welcome. And
on se verra. Quoi?
Oui, très bientôt, promis.
À toi.
Ciao, ciao.
Ciao.
Thank you so much, Aldo. Thank you so much, Josh. Thank you so much to you for being with us tonight. Come back next week for more Drumfills Cafe. Until then, stay safe, have a good week, and see you next week on Drumfills Cafe. Take care.